Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to Idle Film Chat. On this edition, we've got a little bit of a unique episode for Idle Film Chat. We're going to be talking a little bit about the recent Black Mirror interactive film that was released on Netflix, and then talk about interactive film as a medium and what we think about it. I've drafted in our Big Fat Gaming Quiz of the Year 2018 winner. It's Pac-Man himself, Tom Adcock. How's it going?
Good, thanks, mate. Not bad at all. Yourself?
Yes, not too bad. All good on this front. Bandersnatch, Black Mirror. I mean, we could roll it right back and have a little talk about Black Mirror first as like a TV series. Like it's almost like an anthology, isn't it? And it's what we're on season 4, and this may be the 5th if you count that. But sort of written by Charlie Brooker, who we know is a big fan of gaming, which is what we typically cover here. We do other bits and bobs as well. But have you been a fan of what has happened with Black Mirror in terms of what it's done with Channel 4 and then moving into Netflix? It's had some good episodes, but also some people say some real toot.
Yeah, funny enough, I was just talking to Rumble about this at gym, and he, like, I've liked it all the way through, really. I've sort of grew up watching things like Outer Limits and Twilight Zone, yeah. And I feel like, I mean, this has probably got a narrower focus. Like, it tends to be around sort of technology and things, but it is similar. Like, so yeah, I loved it all the way through. But I think since Netflix took over and, you know, they've been able to increase like the scope of the episodes, hire some sort of higher caliber actors, and yeah, I think it's just got better, really. Yeah,
it's this great series. If you've not seen it, definitely worth going down and having a look, because it's just it's weird at times, but it's kind of like a little glimpse into an exaggerated version of the future, I guess. Sort of science fiction, like you said, related around tech and things. There's like an infamous episode around social media and around how people's social rankings are determined by your social media kind of footprint and things like that, which, you know, obviously isn't true as we walk around now, but in an exaggerated version, maybe in some people's minds, that's how they see life. So it touches on some interesting bits and pieces. But just before the year ended, so 2018, we knew there was a new sort of standalone episode / film happening. We didn't really know too much about it, but I think they released it on the 28th of December, and it ended up being something called Bandersnatch. And it's an interactive film, so you kind of sit there passively watching Bandersnatch, and then at certain points during the film, you're given a choice to make a few decisions, like choose his, I think one of the early ones, like choose his breakfast, isn't it? Like sugar puffs or something else, or frosted.
That's it, yeah. And then what music he's listening to and stuff, right? That's one of the first ones.
That's it, yeah. And then as it goes on, the decisions become a lot more, high stakes. And what it essentially is, it's an interactive film that has many different kind of endings and paths and whatnot. And it takes that typical passive experience from watching something and transforms it into something a little bit more interactive. Let's talk about Bandersnatch itself first. What did you think of what this package come together? And we can talk about interactive film, afterwards and what we think of it. But Bandersnatch itself, how was your? What did you make of it?
I love the concept. I think it was really smart, and like I was so excited when I had no idea this is what it was going to be, like the episode, and I just thought, Jesus, this is good.
Groundbreaking, you called it.
Yeah, and to be honest, I was actually a bit worried about how it would work, but it was like executed flawlessly in terms of like how you interacted and what was happening. Like, it didn't pause the action. It kind of mumbled around and they were doing their own thing, and then you had that 10 seconds or whatever, and it would just like seamlessly go the way you wanted it to.
Yeah.
Was it my favourite Black Mirror, or like where would I rank it as a Black Mirror episode? Like, probably the worst, or like that's harsh, because I don't. I mean, there is a couple of duds in there, but I kind of always come away.
Glad you watched it.
Yeah. And even like what I'm saying is, even the bad episodes in Black Mirror, I kind of go, it stays. They usually stay with me for a while, and they're always worth having a discussion with if you watch them with like somebody else. And I think this is the same in that respect, but it's one of the weaker ones story wise, I think. But probably due to what they were doing with the interactivity, that's taken a sort of a hit then, because obviously the car, without spoiling, what they've gone for is a very kind of like meta approach, and things like loop back on themselves and things. So yeah, it just didn't make for, in my opinion, the best of stories. But
no, that's always a bit of a difficult. I mean, it's not the first time Netflix have released an interactive show or film. They've done interactive work sort of aimed more at children. I didn't
know this.
There's like an animated version of Puss in Boots that you can put your kids down, they can interact with that and do whatever. And then also Telltale's Minecraft Story Mode, that was adapted to go on Netflix. So that is
seriously?
Yeah, it's on there.
I had no idea.
You can find it. I don't know how it works. I mean, it's obviously a watered down version of that particular game, because you do have options in that particular series to walk around and solve puzzles and do bits and pieces. I imagine it's all just stripped away, but it's been slowly sort of ticking away in the background on a lower scale. But it feels like Bandersnatch kind of thrusted this into like the hive mind of internet sort of pop culture and what people are interested in. I would agree with you that story wise it was probably one of the weaker ones, but as we were discussing, again, we're going to try not to spoil anything. It's really hard to understand actually what the story of Bandersnatch is, because the decisions you make kind of lead you down a different path to an ending, and then it brings you back to that point where you made the decision. Then you can go off and do it again. And it felt like each of them were very separate. Like there wasn't a lot of interconnectivity there. And it was like, if I just switched it off after the first one, would that have been the story? Like it didn't... I don't know if it knew what the mechanical sort of ending would be. Like I was hoping there'd be something to tie them all together, and just that the outcome was depending on your actions. But it felt like there was actually completely different, stories or reasons why it was happening at play.
Yeah, he just kind of almost made everything you'd done before kind of not rubbished it, but it took away the kind of high stakes a lot more. I don't know. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It reminded me a lot of. Did you play that video game Her Story?
Yes.
So yeah, like when we got to the end of this, it was like the same as that, as in you get to an end, but apart from really it saying like exit to the menus, you don't really know you've hit the end. It's then just kind of up to you if you want to see some other endings or call it a day at that point, which like I mean, having old Brooker being a big gamer, it would have been nice for him to gamify it a bit more. And like obviously I like the multiple endings, but at least have one or two that feel like the best ending, if you know what I mean. And then something like that. It just, because I went, did you go through all the endings in the end?
Yeah, kind of like when we got to the end, I think I failed or got to an ending within like 15 minutes. So immediately I sort of gone through that process. And I was a bit like, okay, right, that's the wrong. I was thinking it was trying to push us down like a golden path almost, which I wasn't against, because I thought it was interesting that it would do that. But then it kind of, towards the back end, there's like a big sprawling area where you just sort of go, not in the area, sprawling sort of narrative where you choose, make one choice, go down that path, make another choice. And each time I got to the end of each strand, there was an option to go back to like the defining point and change it. And only when I did that, did it unlock other options. Like to continue. So some of the choices, there's normally, I think there was only ever two choices, maybe three in one instance, but there's normally two choices. And I'll choose something, go down that route, come back. That option was no longer there, but then there's a new one, and I was a bit like, "Oh, I couldn't have possibly got that ending, the second one, without going back." So I don't know if it's designed specifically for you to go back and do them all, but I just kept going until it got to a point where it said exit to the menu, and it was done. So I just kind of tried to exhaust it in that sense, but. Yeah, when I come away from it, I was just a bit like, I don't really know what I've just sat through or played there. I still don't really understand what it's all about.
No, I agree. Yeah, it was a bit of a head scratcher at the end. Like, it was. Thing is, I watched it. I think I sort of watched it in the best way. It was like me, Sarah, loads of like nieces and nephews, and like was all just like then voting on what we should do, and it was kind of really fun way to do it. But afterwards we were all a bit like, what the fuck is that? What have we just watched?
I mean, some Black Mirror episodes are a little bit like that, aren't they? You kind of think, what's going on there. But you know that there's an ending there if you just read into it. Now this, I still don't understand what the. Didn't you come up with a really strange theory that you all discussed and then it turned out being...
mate, I wish it was true. Like it's not a spoiler. It's just that because of the meta nature of it, where there's a part where you start explaining to him kind of like who you are.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a lot about like mind control, or your who makes choices for you and all of that stuff. And anyway, I literally almost lost my shit because it just popped in my head. I was like, hang on, stop. We need to stop making choices. This is how we beat this thing. You let him make the choice. We just choose nothing and let the time run out.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd literally solved, like it was like a Easter egg, like something to be won. And we all sat there on like tenterhooks waiting, like letting the 10 seconds go. And then it just chose the option that was already highlighted, and that's it. It was like, for fuck's sake.
So that was a good way of doing it.
I thought that'd have been brilliant, like because of the nature of it and that. And then like that is how you would have got the best ending, is by not making a choice and letting him do it.
Yeah.
But I guess it would have defeated the object of it being like choose your own.
Yeah.
But I really, it's a strange one. Like I said, I would tell anyone to watch it and give it a go.
Yeah.
But I mean, it definitely wouldn't be an entry into that series. I don't think there's much better episodes to watch and enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's certainly go through the normal shows first and then get to this. I mean, for those that are interested, it's set in 84, I think. So it's in the 80s, and there's like a young programmer who's developing his own video game, and he's trying to make it. It's based on a book called Bandersnatch, which is obviously where the name comes from. And it's essentially that process, isn't it, of him, developing this game, and you make choices during that. You meet people who work in the development studio, and you can go off on different paths. But from the common strand between all the endings was how the game ends up being, whether it ends up being good, bad, and there's always like a post screen where it kind of reviews the game on like a TV show and says, Bandersnatch has got 5 out of 5 or whatever it is.
That's it, yeah.
And that's sort of part of it. But in between all that, there's all these different decisions and things you can do, and it kind of goes a bit crazy in some areas. But it's worth playing through, or watching, whatever you want to call it. It's certainly something that, unless you've been playing Puss in Boots or Minecraft Story Mode on Netflix, you won't have come across it before. Interactive film or interactive telly as a whole. Now, there's people out there saying the likes of Detroit Become Human, Telltale Games, Life is Strange, they are already interactive films rather than games. What's your opinion on that stance?
Hang on, so say that again. So calling Telltale things interactive films rather than games?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a sort of grey, fuzzy area, I guess. But I mean, I've only really played the Telltale ones rather than Detroit and the other ones. But you do always get, there is like quick time events. There is like very mild puzzle solving in those games, I think.
Yeah.
You kind of have to interact with the environment. So I think there's still definitely video. I can't imagine a non-gamer just handing someone a controller and going, there you go.
Yeah.
Watch this film. Like they'd struggle. So... No, I mean, they're definitely like a fuzzy area there, but no, I still say all of those games are still very much games, and this is, as it says, like an interactive TV show. I'm sure they might, I mean, if this proves popular enough, I guess this won't be the last one of these we start seeing.
No. We'll separate. That's good, because we can separate all the other gaming things and focus on things like Bandersnatch or future ones. We've mentioned that we didn't think the story perhaps held up as well. Was there a good story? Was there a story to be told there that would have been good without the interactive elements? And did ultimately the interactive elements potentially detract from that experience? That's the sort of crux of what I want to get to, is whether using this medium where you have a little bit of agency over what happens, whether actually the final end, when you finish watching it, you're a little bit less satisfied because you're not just given this passive story that someone's written and someone wants you to experience.
I don't think the story was strong enough for this, basically. I think, I'd be fascinated to know if the idea for an interactive story and the story were both like conceived at the same time,
right.
or did he have an outline of this sort of story, like designing a computer game, and then he just kind of not shoehorned it in, but then built it from that. But yeah, I like I said, I love the Black Mirror episodes, and I think the storytelling in them is very good. And like I said at the start of this show, I just think this one was a bit weak.
Right.
There's a couple of good like beats and moments in it, but I think I'm really interested to see a few more of these. I don't want to see a flood of them because I think it has to be.
Yeah.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because like, I don't know. Like a film's a film. Like as soon as you throw in these elements,
yeah,
I can't really see how they're gonna make a story a better story. Like it'll be its own thing, I think, won't it? If anything, it'll just like, which could be kind of cool, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, one of the things about a film or a TV show is, especially a film, is that you go on this ride for 90 minutes, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, however long it is, and like if you're a fan of said director or whatever, you kind of know that's their intent. Like it's all been meticulously edited and put together in a specific way to, evoke certain feelings or tension or horror. All that sort of business is all there, and then obviously there's a narrative and a story as well that's been again crafted specifically for this journey. And when you have to kind of, for lack of a better word, sort of water down the narrative part of things and offer all these options for all these different choices that are made, I think you're going to come unstuck, aren't you? It's going to be really hard to create a satisfying A to Z experience where you walk away from an interactive area and say, yep, I'm happy with exactly how it panned out. That was all Spielberg's intent, all that good stuff. That then gets sucked away, doesn't it? Because it's depending on what choices you've made. And I think you're right to say that I'm in the same boat as you. I don't want to see a flood of these just suddenly start hitting the market, because traditional films and telly still work. I don't think anyone was sitting there going, boring, innit? Watching these fucking films like this, like not having any choice or just telling him what to do. So it's just like, don't like recreate the wheel.
Yeah.
And, but this is like another little side thing that can come out, and it can be like an infrequent thing that I'll happily do again. But I'm worried that it might become a bit of a fad and then die out, because it must be so hard to write for, mustn't it? Like just thinking about conceiving a story and then all the different bits and pieces that go into that, plus viewer agency.
Exactly. Because I was just, when you were talking there, I was just thinking to myself, like, what genres would it have a good fit for? And like instantly I thought horror.
Yeah.
Because like you said, like I just then like, that's the one time when you were saying about like, you watching films go, oh, this is boring, like having to watch. But how annoying is it in a horror when they sort of fucking go upstairs and like, but then I'm like, well, hang on, if you got the choice, you'd just keep everyone together and no one would ever die, and it wouldn't really make for much of a film. So it is a struggle. And then I guess like maybe even like a rom-com, I guess I could imagine people.
Yeah, like you go down a different path with the character.
Yeah, like you could choose like which one.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely things here. I don't think it's going to explode and be like the next big thing, but it's like a little. Maybe it'll get like VR, like start off slow, sort of have these proof of concepts come through, get like the odd good thing, and then maybe it'll hit its stride later on down the line. But it's hard enough it is to create a film, isn't it? Without all these.
I wonder.
Bits.
I think behind the scenes on this would be fascinating to know how much extra work it cost them. Like, it must have been a real headache. And then, I mean, like you said, people are making enough money, which is what it boils down to with TV and film anyway. Do they really need this extra added like pain in their ass, which is, it's so easy to get wrong probably that it's not worth the gamble of sticking it in anyway, I wouldn't have thought. But I mean, when it came out, I was like really excited, and it was a fun sort of one-nighter. Yeah. Am I ever going to watch that one again? Definitely not.
No.
Like, and as I said, it's probably not my, it's probably in the bottom 2 or 3 Black Mirror episodes, but I love the fact they tried it.
Yeah.
I like the fact it was that show that done it, and Charlie Brooker, like it's a brave thing to do, and ultimately maybe it wasn't as groundbreaking as I hoped when I heard it was announced. But hell, give them credit for trying something new.
Yeah, I mean, generally looking at the reception, it was quite favourable. But I think there's always that sticking point. Is it a little bit gimmicky to include it? And but happy to see more things experiment like this, especially in like an environment like Netflix where you're just at home and you stick it on. I think it took me about 90 minutes, hour and a half, maybe just shy of that. I imagine it was the same for you.
Yeah, I think we could maybe clocked over 2 hours watching all the extra bits at the end, but there was no need to be doing that. It was just purely just we had time to do it. Yeah.
What about if they took this element of storytelling, this element of film, and put it into something like a cinema where you connect I know they make you turn your phones off, but for the sake of this interactive film that's coming out, Cameron's sort of getting involved, saying, "Yep, I went in on this. I've done the 3D now. Get me on interactive film. I'll be the one to really bring it out and make billions off it." And you all connect your smartphones, and then the choices come up, and then based on a percentage, could that work, or is that just a pipe dream?
I can imagine people loving that. Like, I don't see why it couldn't work. You know, just like vote with your phones, connect to an app, and then you're on 10 seconds. Like, I think it could definitely work. And I could imagine some people loving it and absolutely losing their shit for this sort of thing. But
yeah,
I mean, as you say, I don't know. Shouldn't you really need that in your life?
Got enough of video games and films and telly, haven't you? Without and like it's sort of like an in between, isn't it? This where I'm more like, okay, if I'm going to play a video game, I know I commit to it, and I know I'm going to be involved in the process. I'm going to be doing stuff like be active. When I want to watch something, it's a completely different vibe. Like, lights are off, sort of relaxed, maybe a glass of wine in my hand. Don't have to worry about anything. Just it's going to feed me. So it's in a bit of a difficult spot, isn't it? Because I think people generally get in those sort of two mindsets if they play video games and watch stuff, and this doesn't allow for that. You're kind of throughout the process was kind of constantly going, "Oh, got to get the controller and do something." Yeah, because you're not switched on. You're not switched on to be doing stuff, but. It'd be interesting to see where it goes and if it makes any sort of cinema, I remember when they started bringing 4DX out, and I was like, well, that's a load of garbage. And having been to a few screenings, the right film, it definitely enhances the right film. Like, don't go and watch Schindler's List or anything like that in 4DX. But like something not really, a Marvel film would be great in that. Like, of all the horror films are pretty good. It's something that's sort of easy to digest and whatnot. So this potentially could fall into that category, and I think horror, like an out-and-out horror, has got to be something that's got to be tried at some point. Yeah,
I agree. That would be good, and it would be a fun sort of one-off or whatever. If done right, it could be great. But you wouldn't want, and I don't think you will see it coming in like mainstream. But it's also good, just like for streaming generally, the fact that you've got this extra. I don't know what else they can do apart from this, but it's another little like nod. Well. For streaming over just traditional TV. You obviously couldn't do this on a live broadcast. I don't think. I mean, I'm not tech enough, but surely you couldn't. So, it just gives them that a little edge, doesn't it? They can try these new things, and there's a bit more they can actually do than just feeding us shows constantly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all I've got to say on the matter. I think it was an interesting step, and. It's always been the sort of the rumours circulating as like, oh, interactive film, how would that work? And then you had like adventure games like Telltale and Quantic Dream and Don't Nod doing those type of games, which I enjoy, and have been like a nice change of pace of playing a video game. But this was obviously something completely different, all live action. What was that old game called? Night Trap, was it?
Oh yeah.
As long as it doesn't end up like that. Then we're in a good space. That was all live action, wasn't it? With all the blokes like invading the house.
Yeah. You can get it on PlayStation now. They've remastered it. Well, not remastered. I think it's just a straight port. But looks like an absolute stinker.
I definitely don't want to be playing that. But I think of all the series to try, I think Black Mirror is in a good place to do it. I would like to see them return to sort of the traditional episodes if they've still got ideas to do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely was an interesting experiment, and to kick off or to end 2018, I guess everyone sort of seemed to watch it within the first day or two. It was really like there's a lot of hype about it. It was It was good. So definitely enjoyable. Not my preferred. I think I'd put it. So I've put like traditional viewing, video games, and then this would be the bottom of those. I think. I don't know where you
agreed.
Put it.
Yeah.
But not like bottom, down and out. Just sort of out of those two. Not quite as good. But who knows? We might get a really in-depth interactive film that comes along and it blows everyone's minds. But
full TV show, 24 episodes, 567,000 different options. Imagine that.
That would be impossible. I don't know if I could get through that. Like I said, because when I watch something, I like to just be switched off. And sometimes I'm a bit too switched off when my mind wanders, but that's the sort of headspace I want to be in. I don't want to kind of be every week like, oh, what are we going to do with Jon Snow?
Yeah.
So, maybe that'll be the Game of Thrones spin-off, interactive.
R.R. Martin can't think of an end. He leaves it up to you. Just fucking, I don't know. Choose it yourself.
He ain't finishing those books, is he?
Nah, mate. Fucking, where is he? What's he doing? I fucking wasted so much reading those books. Gone, dead. Not getting those.
I remember I read an article saying that fans should wind their neck and they shouldn't expect the book series to be ended. And I was like, I don't know about that. I feel like generally, like, commit to it and try and finish it if you can. Like, perhaps don't do a King with the what's it called, the Dark Tower, and say, right, I couldn't think of an ending. Sort of pre-note it and say this is rubbish, or whatever he did, the mad bastard. But finish what you started if you can, because people, like, it's a lot of time that people have invested.
The thing is, I read that last book in 2015, like way behind when it was actually released, and even then, when I googled to see when the next one was coming out, because at that point I was still ahead of the TV shows.
Yeah,
they said, oh, it's been waiting for like 4 years. I don't know, it's 4 years overdue already at that point.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is, like, the TV show's pretty good. Like, if you're struggling, just go, just copy that. People seem to like it. Like, they've given me a pretty good path now, and just,
No, just going to roll around and appear at Comic-Con to be like, yeah, books are coming, just don't you worry about it. TV show's not canon. I'll blow your minds with that, but we'll see. Anyway, mate, thanks for joining us. Bit of an interesting and a different one. So, interactive film has been covered. We'll keep an eye out and see if there's any other bits and pieces that come down. But for now, I'm going to stick with my video games and TV and film.
Good man.
And any of these that pop up, I'll be definitely giving a go, because let's see where the genre can take us. Maybe it will just blow open like VR one day. Cameron, cinema, Titanic 2. Can you get off the ship and save your lover? Stakes are very high.
Yeah, but fucking Dave in the fourth row, he chose the other option and fucks you right over.
Yeah, he chose the option of just standing still and waiting to see if the water fills up. And you're like, right, Dave, you've really cost everyone there.
That'd be the most annoying thing about it, though. Because imagine, like, if you got ending A, so you went back to the cinema next week to get ending B, and the fuckers all chose the other. Yeah, you'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, and also, if you kept choosing option A and everyone was choosing B, you'd feel like you never had an influence on the film. You're just like, right, I've just watched. Yeah, maybe it won't work. If it is going to work, though, Cameron's the man to make it work. That's what I will say.
Cameron and Brooker and King. Throw some King in there, just...
Yeah, like a haunted, like, fucking printer.
Yeah.
You can just chuck that in there. Will you start talking to the haunted printer, goes down some mad strand of bollocks that King's written specifically for that.
Proper, like, 80s King as well, and he's high as a kite. Just roaring around, going mental, yeah.
All right, mate, thanks for joining us. We'll be back on in a week's time with the next piece of Dimp Digital content. No idea what it'll be, no idea when this will be published, but everyone who's joined us, thanks for your time, and ta-da.